In canon, the first game of the davy back fight, the donut race, has only 3 rules. Each crew picks a 3-person team to go head-to-head. Each team is given 3 barrels and 2 oars, and using only those materials, teams must make a boat to win an unfleeable 1-lap race. But in reality, we see 8 different teams, with anywhere between 2 and 19 people. The barrels are allowed to be any size, and if they're inside your boat, they don't count, even if they're straight up bombs. Oh, and you can also flee all you want, because fuck living in disgrace. In theory, Long Ring Long Land is the modern fan's perfect arc. It's short, fast-paced, world-buildy, insanely funny, and it provides some of the best crew interactions in the entire series. Yet, in reality, it's hated, and justifiably so. But if you think the reason for that is because it's filler, I don't think you understand why you like One Piece. As my close friend Mahatma once told me, if you're gonna be a hater, at least be well informed. You should not be satisfied blaming the faults of the davy back on its partial lack of canonicity. It's immediately preceded by a filler arc so good that Oda retconned its OCs into reality. You remember Vice Admiral Jonathan in D8, right? God, I love that arc. Indeed, the issue is not so simple. It's much more scientific. You hate the davy back because Toei doesn't get game design. And in honor of my late friend, I will now explain his reasoning. Beside me, you'll find the rules to the manga's davy back fight. And I want you to actually, genuinely think for a second, are they good? What behaviors do they incentivize? Do they incentivize strategy? Or do they just reward you if you're really, really strong? How do they reward you if you're really, really strong? Do you think they'd be generous as a lover? And now, note the anime's rules. Do you see this small change here? This was Toei's trick to pad out the arc's runtime. It's neat, right? This is responsible for every problem you have with this arc. And yes, that even goes for people who think they skipped the filler. If you watched the anime, you did not escape the wrath of this rule. It's even in stuff you didn't realize, like accidentally hiding the identity of the One Piece. Once upon a time, Roanoa Zoro made a legendary sacrifice. He stayed relatively sober at a party with an open bar because he suspected that the host just might have been a league of 100 very skilled bounty hunters that were targeting their crew. He gets eliminated from the Donut Race, a game that explicitly threatens him and his crew members' lives, because he was too busy getting drunk and trying to aura farm. Similar refrains can be made for Luffy, Sanji, and Chopper. In this race, they are all just as strangely incompetent as each other. They're distracted, they don't go head-to-head with any real antagonists. Hell, their only real impact on this race is the one time that they protect Usopp, Nami, and Robin, the only ones who are actually taking this seriously, from a single attack. Honestly, it's kinda like they don't even realize that they're meant to be playing a game. In the manga, they're in the audience. Canonically, there are indeed just 2 boats, made of 3 standardized barrels and 2 oars, both with 3 people each. This obviously illegal monstrosity didn't exist. Instead, there was the Foxy Interference Corps, a group who barraged the Barrel Tiger the second the race began, only to swiftly be removed from action by the sideline Straw Hats, who don't really do much else from here, because they have their own events, and them being heavily involved wouldn't make much sense. There's a version of this video where I go over every minor change that the anime makes to the davy back, and I talk about how bad I think they all are. But, frankly, barring this one specific occasion, which can only really be explained by screenwriter Hirohiko Kamisaka wanting to short the Straw Hat sharpshooter on stock piece 20 years before it ever existed, every single terrible change in this arc follows the same general pattern. They want to pad out the runtime, so they use their little participation loophole, either adding participants or just changing the games entirely. Then they remember that they can't fundamentally change the source material, so they just clumsily write the characters into reaching a similar endpoint to the manga, even if the actions required to do so make 0 sense. I mean, think about it. If Sanji were there, he would have insisted on going with the girls. If Luffy were there, he would have just sunk everyone the second the race started. Same for Zoro, and Chopper just probably wouldn't have been put in this kind of danger. But if he were, he would have been in Brain Point, because he still used that back in these days. These are just a few examples, but they're a subset of a much larger group. And I have to reiterate, these aren't just in the filler episodes. They are in the canon parts, and they have ruined your ability to enjoy this arc. The original idea for this video was to use science to explain why you and I hate the davy back, But it changed when I read the manga, and I realized this wasn't a failure of writing. It was a failure of adaptation. The Groggy Ring is the only event that Toei chose to adapt faithfully, and I'd also bet that it's your favorite part of this arc. For good reason, by the way, I'm not calling you out or anything. So, safe to say, I've proven my point. Manga rules, Toei rules. Except, in the same way my good friend Mahatma Gandhi took issue with excusing poor quality filler, I think it'd be a little intellectually dishonest to just explain away this part of the arc being good by acknowledging its canonicity. Which I could do by recapping all the cool and hype stuff that happens, like I'm making a video essay that's somehow longer than the series I'm covering, but since that's frankly a little base, and I'm pretentious making this for a science communication university assignment, and maybe have one too many special interests for a person who's somehow not autistic, I know, hard to believe, I'm gonna do it the best way I know how. I'm gonna teach you about game design. Emergent behavior is behavior that occurs when simple, independent rules interact to give rise to behavior that was not specifically programmed into a system. Think flocks of birds or schools of fish. Each bird follows 3 simple rules. Just by increasing the number of birds, you get these seemingly impossibly complex patterns of behavior. Theoretically, a similar concept is present in game design. With a few simple, well-made rules, a whole complex, dynamic world of strategy, community, and networks should naturally emerge over time. When very simple rules emerge into highly complex behaviors, a game is said to have a high emergence ratio. And at least according to Will Wright, the maker of The Sims, who's totally not biased in any way whatsoever, that's what makes a good game. Emergence is something we see throughout the Davy Back, but it's best seen in the Groggy Ring, as what emerges from its simple rule set is utterly and shockingly unique throughout the entire series. Sanji and Zoro working together. I'm sorry, Sanji, I don't have a poster. I love you, man. I'm sorry. The relationship between Vinsmoke Sanji and Roanoa Zoro is legendary, characterized just as much by mutual trust and belief as it is genuine disdain and desire to be perceived as the better. They will always need someone to act as the social buffer to get anything done. They will fight over anything, including who gets to die, and on the rare occasion they have worked together, which they only do out of necessity, it's less, "I've got your back," and more, "I can sort out my own shit, just don't fuck this up for us or I will kill you myself." Essentially, to make this feel right and not out of character is a Herculean task. So how did Oda do it, and how did he make it work so well?
Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory.
Sorry, not that kind of game theory. I'm talking about the mathematical study of how and why people make decisions. To start off with, I've started with 4 conditions to get a better understanding of our game's players. I believe there were 2 major substrates for the miracle. The first being of the metagame, the second for the game itself. Prior to the start of the Davy Back, as per its rules, all Straw Hats were allocated to one game, where allocation was done by Nico Robin. She doesn't explain her thought process, but I presume she was trying to maximize relevant skills for each event, that being ranged attack and maritime skills for the donut race, melee attack and battle IQ for combat, and durability and mobility for Groggy Ring. This essentially already explains all the picks, but I think it's also relevant to note the inclusion of Chopper in the Groggy Ring team as an experienced combat support guy and social buffer / lubricant to enable the teamwork of Sanji and Zoro. Without him, I do not believe that Robin would have put Sanji and Zoro together. I think she probably would have swapped her and Sanji. So essentially, the first substrate was a miscalculation. While she likely predicted that Foxy would take a person from the next game to maximize his odds, she didn't anticipate that Foxy would be prioritizing cuteness over strength. And since allocations are finalized prior to the start of the game, that's condition 2B nullified. Or, more to the point of this video, the rules of the game have created a situation where, despite all the characters acting rationally within their scope of information, these two are forced to consider cooperation, because they can't even choose to flee or just take the defeat as per the circumstances from which they've emerged. Or in other words, it's time for substrate 2, Cooperation Payoff Matrix! A payoff matrix is just a way to represent the outcomes of a decision. In our case, we're concerned with Zoro and Sanji's willingness to cooperate or go solo. And we can get these values by looking at their actions. First thing you'll notice is they go solo at the earliest given opportunity, and that's because if they were to try and cooperate while the other guy is going solo, that is a massive aura loss. So we're going to give the lowest value to that category, and we can give the highest value to its inverse, because both of them want to be the guy the other one is relying on. That would prove that they are stronger. And this interpretation is supported by Sanji not letting Zoro save him. Indeed, what we see is at first, they both go solo. Both of them want to solve the situation alone. They would view this spot as being better than this spot. This is the pattern they have followed for pretty much the entire series. In most arcs, they will spend their time fighting alongside each other, but they will never cooperate, really. They will fight different people at the same time. Therefore, we can say that their status quo is that regardless of what the other guy is doing, they will want to do it themselves. This is called a strict Nash equilibrium. Their intended actions are unchanging even if they have set in stone knowledge about what the other guy wants to do. So, how do we get this situation we're in then? What changes to make this situation one where they do choose to cooperate? Love me, love me, love me, love me. Big Ben might be the LeBron James of Groggy Bull. He destroys Sanji and Zoro multiple times. He is literally toying with them. They try so hard against him, but he just laughs at them and wombo combos them down. I genuinely do not think he would have lost if it weren't for the fact that he had teammates who were used as weapons against him. Regardless, it's this that changes it. Sanji and Zoro both realize that they are not strong enough as individuals to beat Big Pan. In which case, we should shift our matrix to something like this, recognizing that both of these characters realize that they can only win if they work together. But this affirms something fundamental about these characters. Like the famous prisoner's dilemma, this matrix has a strong Nash equilibrium. Whilst the best outcome for both of them comes when they both cooperate, hypothetically, neither of them should, because they both get a better reward if they were to go solo. That is, unless they had unwavering trust for each other, they would never risk working together. Yet alas, they do. But that's just a theory. A game theory. Okay, hopefully that illustrates my point about good game design and the value of emergence. Now, let's look at the exact opposite. Hi, I was gonna give you a whole rundown of all the absolute horrors to Oda's work that were done in the Run Roller Around, the anime's first filler game, and I was gonna talk about all the problems with it and how that proves how good the canon parts of it, but I think that's actually kind of useless, because frankly, you probably skipped the filler, and I don't think I really need to prove to you that you like One Piece. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste my time with this boring part of the arc. It was generally broke my brain to watch it. It was the most boring thing I've watched in a long time, but I had to for this video. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about it because that's a waste of time. I've got a bunch of notes here if you want to read them. There's also stuff about the next anime filler game, which is actually a little bit better, but I still don't want to talk about it because, again, I don't think it actually proves anything in regards to this video about how this anime-only rule actually changed the canon, because these aren't canon. So yeah, anyways, let's talk about actual interesting stuff now. Actually, sorry, before we do that, I should note, the point I was going to make about these parts of the arc is that they had really overly complex rules to the game. That was actually the entire point of the second game. I'm not even going to talk about the third game. The third game was truly horrifically bad. But the second game, the second filler game, was literally a game about having complex rules. And I was going to talk about how having all these complex rules actually prevented any interesting character interactions because they stopped anything from happening. So yeah. Anyway, back to the interesting stuff now. In our real world, pirates were constantly fighting over so-called sea artisans, navigators, shipwrights, doctors. These highly skilled people who were willing to engage in such risky work were constantly in demand, to the extent that they would often be forced to sign piracy contracts, articles that would make them documented fugitives of the law, so they wouldn't have any choice but to go to sea. These were actually very common. But what if you were a pirate who wanted these skilled crewmates, but you lived in a world where piracy contracts wouldn't work, as justice was far too absolute, and everyone worked more so under codes of honor or fear of curses. Well, he'd probably try and make a system of crewmate accrual that was based in honor and superstition instead of fear of judicial punishment. The Davy Back fight. For our characters, this is the explicit purpose of the Davy Back, at least in the manga. Our final game, Combat, shows us how changing the rules morphed the context around the canon content, and how this, all being downstream effects of that one damn rule change, ruined the context and the stakes of the arc for the anime viewer. Going into the combat, the Straw Hats are meant to be intact. They lost Chopper after the first game due to being unfamiliar with Foxy's powers, but they got him back in the second. Thanks, MatPat. They talked about taking Foxy, the so-called peanut tactics of taking the opposing third-round player to auto-disqualify them and guarantee overall victory, something everyone has recognized as a possibility forever, but apparently no one has ever done, as it would break their promise to Davy Jones to play 3 games, but it's something they decide against, because they realize this means having Foxy on their crew. Essentially, they view this game as an opportunity to gain a shipwright, something that they've notably been lacking. And whilst they worry about Foxy, his strange powers, his daunting win streak, they trust in Luffy, their captain, and his soulful afro. In the anime, they are fucked. The Straw Hats didn't immediately take Chopper back, they took back Shelly instead. The anime nonsensically considers to be on Foxy's crew. They then go into the run roll around, learn all about Foxy's powers, and just narrowly get the win, finally taking back Chopper and winning the Davy Back fight. Except, wait, Luffy says, oh, that was a good time, and he decides, let's run it back, and let's do another one. And he proceeds to play 2 more filler games and lose both Chopper and Robin in a row. So hypothetically, the anime Straw Hats are going into the final round, the combat round, being down 2 members, aka mathematically incapable of leaving with their full crew. And if you, like me, didn't remember how Toei resolved this, you're in for a world of shock. The combat itself is adapted almost perfectly. There's a few jokes that don't land, you have to deal with the weirdness of Robin being on Foxy's crew, but largely it's the same. Luffy still gets an absolute beating, still struggles with Foxy's ridiculous powers, and still makes the realization that they reflect off mirrors, and that he can use that against Foxy. And that is a problem. In the anime, Foxy's powers are not remotely meant to be shrouded in mystery. Luffy is already aware of how they work and how they reflect off mirrors. He's already experienced it. So the fight playing out the exact same, with him having to gradually learn and adapt to his opponent, reframes a moment that should make him look smart and adaptive as one that makes him look incompetent and forgetful. The same applies to Foxy. No matter how much he almost kills and outsmarts Luffy, he doesn't feel threatening because he's been flanderized into this overly goofy and idiotic villain. He doesn't even have his win streak because the anime can't justify it, as they had the entire game beforehand, which Foxy lost. The filler, in trying to make space for itself, destroyed a genuinely good and unique antagonist, just as it did most everything else in this arc. Luffy's win is meant to accompany a sacrifice. Foxy has many great shipwrights and Luffy desperately needs a shipwright, but he takes Foxy's Jolly Roger instead, because if he actually gets what he wants, then he'll forget why he started this in the first place. He offers the Jolly Roger to Tonjit and Shelly as a way of apologizing for getting them caught in the crossfire. Oh, and look, Admiral Aokiji is here too. In the anime, with Luffy's single win, he takes back Chopper, and Robin, and the Jolly Roger, and 497 members of the Foxy Pirates crew, because they made a deal with the Foxy Pirates to make the last round be worth 500 people, where if the Straw Hats lost, they'd have to make up the remaining 495 people by using their descendants, who would be locked into a form of a slave contract indebted to Foxy and his crew. I'm not making this up. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. They then tell the 497 new crew members to just leave because they don't have enough space for them on their boat, and they completely brush over the fact of the shipwright thing. Because, oh yeah, did I tell you that the anime completely retconned that because they realized it was a whole huge thing to deal with because they didn't really have a justification for why the Straw Hats wouldn't take one, so they just don't mention it, completely erasing any reason for Luffy to have justified joining the actual Davy Back. Oh, and if you're thinking, what about Shelly? Well, don't forget, they've already taken Shelly back. So then, when we have this emotional moment where he goes and he gives the Jolly Roger over to Tonjit and Shelly, it's now meaningless. Because first off, there was no sacrifice. And secondly, he's already taken her back. Which, in the anime, was instead of his own crew member. That was a bigger thing. That was a bigger risk. That hypothetically could have been really cool if we just had 3 games. And then, instead of letting the arc end with this absolute flashbang of seeing Admiral Aokiji for the first time, this guy who is insanely strong, who doesn't actually deal with them and just helps Tonjit get to his family before realizing that Luffy is a threat and then deciding to almost kill all of them at once, we instead go back to Tonjit's house and meet his grandson, Ritonto, who is another non-canon character because, oh my god, they need more filler. I mean, they'd already destroyed this arc, right? Why even let it end with a single redeeming moment? Speaking of endings, when I think about why I love the One Piece manga, I always come back to how real it all feels, in spite of its world's inherent ridiculousness. This is a paradoxical quality I don't find in many stories. Natural action and characteristic realism often feel at odds with goofiness and the abstract. And if you were to ask me how I think Oda does it, I would tell you that he writes like a game designer. As I've told you, game design is about emerging complexity and behavioral incentives, but it's also more than that. It's how creators can use simple rules and systems to naturally form the behaviors they want. It's how a good teacher tricks you into learning, how your food app convinces you into buying more than you need, and when done right, it's a way for us to create naturally engaging and fun stories. 29 years ago, Oda created a world and its rules, and every week since then, he's guided his characters as they've grown into this world and formed its complexity. He didn't plan everything out in advance, but he has paid attention to his world's growth, and what makes sense within the rules he's established. It's in this way that his world can feel so natural, despite its complexity. His characters are just engaging with the world and its rules as they are presented to them. Except for when they don't. Hey, you there. While I've been making this theory, I've realized there's a lot of clues about the One Piece that are kind of hidden in the Davy Back fight arc, and I haven't fully wrapped my head around this, so I'm going to crowdsource a One Piece theory. I've got a theory, but I think it could be buffed out. So here's essentially the theory laid out in dot points, and I want you to critique the fuck out of it and give me some of your thoughts, and we can work on this together to make a much more holistic theory. Right now, it's not a theory, it's a hypothesis, it's a bunch of lines of reasoning, but it could be if we can do this together. We got this. Bro fist. Instead, I opted to confuse it